Hello and welcome back to another episode in A Year Gardening. Well, we're now into June and the garden is coming along in leaps and bounds. Got a lot of things I'd like to go through with you today. I'd like to show you first of all how the wonderful wildflower seeds are picking up. They're just coming through lovely now. There's some good colour in the garden and I'm really looking forward to how they're going to be progressing. During the course of this show we're going to be staying in the front garden and we're going to be lifting the daffodils. It's time to get those lifted and put into storage for a couple of months. We're going to be taking a look at the back garden and some work. In the last episode I did say that I was going to be setting out the track bed for the railway. But before I can do that, I've got to lay the base in, the foundation for the wall. So I've got a datum point to work from. The wall is where I'm going to be growing some succulents and some ivies and some ferns, just to add a little bit of character to the garden. Once I've got that baseline marked, then I can carry on from there. I've also got some bedding plants to put out. Actually quite a lot to do this time. So without further ado, let's start by lifting those daffodil bulbs. Well, now the daffodils have all died back, so it is time to lift them. And I just cleared the markings away, and now we are going to just get ourselves about 6 to 8 inches away from. Now we'll just have a look inside here. Bulbs completely died off, and we'll just knock off any excess soil and we'll pop them into the box where we're going to store them. We definitely don't want any soft bulbs, so we check them as we go through. These are quite nice and firm. Once we've lifted all of these, we'll be putting them over into the bed with the shrubs. We'll probably put them in about August time. Well, there we go. There's about 100 daffodil bulbs lifted, and they're ready to go into a nice dry shed now. So pop those down there. All I've got to do now is just finish the weeding along this bed, and then I can do some planting out. Well, today I'm back in the courtyard garden, and what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be laying out the artificial grass on the concrete slab that used to be a bit of a driveway. Now some of you may be familiar with Danny Clark, the horticulturalist and garden designer. Now Danny had a TV show called The Instant Gardener, and I've taken some of the inspiration for this courtyard garden from that particular show. Another little link with Danny Clark is that he trains just down the road from here at Hadlow College, so it's a nice little link for us. So I'm just going to start tidying the area now, ready to receive the grass. Well, now I've laid this grass into position, and because the garden is not square, and obviously the piece of artificial grass is, it's a little bit difficult for scriding it in square. So I've run this up just short here, and I've now got to reposition the edge of this border. So I'm going to get my drill a few more holes into the concrete here just to allow some drainage, then going to resite the edging so that it is nice and flush with the edge of the artificial grass, and then refill this with compost and maybe put a little bit of bedding in front of the courgettes and bits and pieces here. So I'm going to get on with that bit now. Well, one great advantage with using artificial grass is that you only have to cut it once, and that's to fit it in. So The border's been extended, got the compost in here, we're trimmed and we're loose laid. Now the reason I'm loose laid is it's a little bit damp underneath at the moment, and the adhesive requires it to be dry. So we're hoping for a couple of nice dry days, and then we can get this glued down, and then where the wood is at the far end, we'll actually pin that in place there. All in all, I think it's going to be a vast improvement to this little area of the garden. So our next little job is to go and have a look at the wall that is going to go across part of the garden, and to measure out the lines also for where we're going to be putting some sleepers, and we're going to be levelling off the top end of the garden and terracing that out. So let's go and have a look at that now. Well, this is the site for the new wall, and the first thing that I've got to do is I'm going to just dig a small trench along here and get it level with the spirit level, and this old clothes post here is going to form the foundation line for the wall. It's not going to be very high, so it's just going to need a little bit of sand and cement just to hold it into place. Once I've got this laid out and level, then I will measure off the amount that I'm going to need of sleepers to finish the levelling, and then we'll be levelling the top area of the garden, terracing that off and giving us a new feature for the rest of the garden. There are a couple of bits and pieces that I'm going to be doing in here, and I've ordered some new plants which are going to take about 3 or 4 weeks to come, and they're going to be some features in the garden as well. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to prepare the trench across the turf here. We are now 17 feet, this blue line you see, 17 feet from the patio down here. I've measured it off, marked it out. All I now need to do is just cut along so that we've got a nice level line, level the ground out underneath, and then drop this old clothes post in to form the foundation. So I'll crack on with that now. Well, that's the baseline set nice and level. So now I'm just going to get some filler just to hold that in place, build the turfs back in round there. As you can see, we're going to be rising up a reasonable amount across the garden, probably around about 10 inches across there, and then we'll infill and bring this side of the garden back up to meet it. But what this does mean is that now I have got the marks ready to start putting the railway in, and so I'll start taking some measurements, work out the track sizes, work out the radiuses, and then I can start putting the railway in here as a little bit of a novelty. Obviously we're going to start at this point here. This is going to be the highest point of the railway, but it is going to be very, very close to the ground, run along the back fence and then around this border here. And that will leave me plenty of room to add my new feature, which is going to go about here, but that is something I'll tell you about another time. Well, another little job that I've been working on is fixing a little picket fence to the edge of the patio, and I've got 3 pieces up, 1 more to put in, so I'll just show you what I've been doing. So I have pre-marked where I need my fixings to be, so I'm just popping a pilot hole through where the fixing is going to go. I've got 1 marked on this end as well. Then I will take an old dead drill, which is no use for anything apart from just putting a mark onto the brickwork where I need to put the masonry drill through. So we'll just get that lined up nicely here, that's fine. Make a marking to that one. And a mark onto that one. Now we'll take the masonry drill, make the hole ready to receive the wall plugs. So that's one to go in here, we'll just put that onto hammer. And we'll get the same over this side here. And all I need to do is go and get a couple of wall plugs. Well, that's the wall plugs installed in the wall, and right on cue it started raining. I've taken my screwdriver bit, popped into the drill, and we're just going to place this up into position. Make sure we're nice and square at the join here. And we just pop the screw straight into the plug. Oh, it's still on hammer drill, look at that, that's bad. Let's put it on the screwdriver. And another one on this side here. That's now fitted. I've got a small metal plate which I'm going to be putting on the joint, top and bottom, just to make sure it's got that little bit extra strength. And I'm going to do the same over the other side, and we'll have a look how that looks in a minute. Well, that's the first two pieces fixed nicely in place, and the metal plate is on the back, just joining them together. Now, I will probably just let these overwinter for 1 year, then take them down, give them a coat of treatment, and then put them back up. You'll also notice the bottom here, where it's meant to be going into the ground. It will be going into the ground, because once we've got the ground levelled out here, it's going to come up to approximately between these two mortar lines here, and so that will be down under the new surface level of the ground. So all to play for. I think that's a nice little job. Well, this morning I spent most of my time going around the garden and deadheading the flowers and removing the crane's bills from the geraniums, etc. And it's been a very, very productive and very rewarding time. There's something very therapeutic about deadheading your plants. I thought I'd give you this picture in view, because these are the blue irises that I planted way back in January. And they are just about having their day now, and so I thought I'd share the beauty of these flowers with you just while I can, because they will only be out for another week or so, and then they will be back into the ground. You can also just see in the back of the picture this blue line going across, and I've set that to height now. And I've now measured up the amount of sleepers I'm going to need. So I'm going to need 5 sleepers to put in here, make the step, and level up this area of the garden. And believe it or not, the fall across the garden is 300 millimeters, which is roughly 1 foot. So there's going to be quite a lot of making up to do, but that's going to make this top end of the garden nice and level and more comfortable for my visitors. On with the next job. Well, I'm just preparing a small area here where I'm going to pop in some more bedding plants that we've been growing in the greenhouse. And they're in a reasonable nice state here to mix up and put outside, so I'm just going to lift a couple of plants here. and just pop them into the ground. We'll do a little bit of a mix here. I've got to watch how many plants I'm getting out at a time. I don't really want them to be too close together, but we'll just have a couple of inches apart. And then once we've got these in, even though it's raining, I'm still going to water these in. The ground's been so dry, unbelievably dry. Now we just separate these by hand and carry on putting them in here. There's a nice big one there. Pop that into that. And this is quite a decent sized plant there. And we're just planting these around in drifts so that it will give us that added bit of summer colour. Pop that into there as well. And I'm going to put another couple of patches of these around this border just to bring it alive a little bit more. What I'm also going to do later today is I'm going to pop some more nasturtium seeds into some pots in order to get them growing for a little bit of later colour as well in the year. So all in all, I'm really pleased with the way this garden is looking now. Well, that brings me to the end of the 17th instalment of A Year in My Garden, A Year Gardening. And I think you'll agree with me, we've gone through quite a lot of different things today. Got the artificial grass down in the Courtyard garden, lifted the daffodils, and they're going to be ready to go out into the shrub border in late August. Got a few bedding plants in, got the fence fixed, got quite a lot of things done really, and I'm really looking forward to now getting that garden level where we put in the concrete and the wall is going, and levelling off that top area, so it's going to be much better for Julie when she comes out into the garden. She hasn't got to worry about the unevenness of the garden. It'll take a little bit of time and it's going to have to be done right. Now in the next instalment I'm going to show you the slab work in the Courtyard garden. I've got the sand and the cement here now ready to get going out there, so I'm going to lift up the temporary slabs, lay down some weed suppressing membrane, show you how we've done the levelling as well, and get the sand and cement down and actually bed the slabs nicely into position so that we can make more use of that area. Well, we're now approaching mid-June, and normally I would be preparing the garden at this time of year for our annual summer party, which unfortunately this year we can't have. A gathering of 70, 80, 90 people in the garden just isn't something that is going to be allowed at the moment. And whilst we will miss not holding our annual party, it's for the good of everybody that we follow the guidelines. And so we'll probably have another one next year. We were going to make this our last one, but we'll have one next year instead. And that I'm sure we will enjoy, but it does mean it also gives me another 12 months to really finish off the touches that I want to get on this garden, and so many plans, and I will share those with you at a later date. Now I have been sitting here feasting myself on fresh strawberries and raspberries, and they're very predominant at the moment. And I can see the red currants are just changing colour on the tree over there, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. And the cabbages that I'm growing inside, well, they are armfuls each, and so I'm really pleased with the way they're growing. I'm going to be popping out into the front garden and doing some planting over the next sort of 7 to 10 days, and I'll share that with you as well. And we'll do a little bit of harvesting and also sowing some plants for next year. So some of the biennials, things like wallflowers and things. And also I'm going to be doing some greenwood cuttings. One of the great things about this time of year is we've got growth on some of our shrubs, and I'll show you how I make my own rooting compound, and I'm sure it will be a very, very interesting little show next time round. Well, that just leaves me to say thank you very much for being with me again. As always, I thoroughly love your company, and hopefully either in the next episode or the one after we'll have some more of young Lara Louise. Her mum has sent me some videos of some fantastic veg she's been growing, so well done, Lara Louise, and we will meet up soon, I'm very, very sure. But until that time, it just leaves me to say stay safe, stay well, and I'm going to leave you this week with a rather nice glass of Burgundy. To your good health, cheers, and I'll see you again soon.